Smokey Yunick viewed the internal combustion engine as a test of a man's character, and in his decades of mechanical warfare, he found only 3 designs he would ever call a perfect engine. Here's the question that still rattles garages decades later. What kind of engine earns praise from a man who believed almost nothing deserved it? Was it a high-strung masterpiece built for a single afternoon of glory? Or was it a rugged survivor that the factory bean counters accidentally let through the gate? Stay with us through this one, because each engine on this list earns its place for a different reason. By the time we reach the 3rd, you'll understand exactly why Smokey believed true engineering clarity had almost disappeared. This is a story worth hearing all the way through. The outlaw's coronation. Smokey didn't look at an engine, he looked through it. He lived in a world of high nickel iron, forged steel, and the unforgiving reality of the stopwatch. He believed that the majority of engines coming out of Detroit were compromised by corporate cowardice, the designs that were intentionally weakened to save a few pennies or to ensure they would eventually fail. He spent his life hunting for the unbreakable logic of a machine that worked with physics instead of against it. He found that most engines were loud, inefficient, and fragile. But 3 specific platforms stood apart as monuments to what happens when engineering is allowed to speak the truth. The first crown, the Hudson 38. The first engine to earn Smokey's absolute trust was the Hudson 308 cubic inch straight 6. To the uninitiated, this looked like a dinosaur, a massive side valve flathead in an age where the overhead valve was king. But Smokey realized that the Hudson engineers had built a machine with a structural honesty that was unmatched. He saw that the block was cast with enough meat to handle staggering amounts of compression without ever flinching. He realized that the 308 was the reason the Hudson Hornet dominated the early years of NASCAR, not because they were the fastest on the straightaways, but because they possessed a low-end grunt that never gave up. He once described the 308 as the gentleman's powerhouse. It was an engine that stayed out of its own way. He developed the Twin H power system to feed the beast, proving that a well-designed 6-cylinder could breathe with the efficiency of a high-performance V8. He loved the fact that the 308 was built to work. It featured a crankshaft that was supported by 7 massive main bearings, providing a level of stability that made the early V8 designs look like they were made of toothpicks. He saw the 308 as a machine that respected the driver by providing relentless torque that felt like it was pulling from the center of the earth. The secret of the flathead flow. Smokey's obsession with the Hudson was rooted in the path of least resistance. While the industry was chasing high RPM horsepower, Smokey was focusing on the quality of the burn. He spent his nights hand-grinding the intake ports of the 308, realizing that the simplicity of the flathead allowed for a very specific kind of thermal management. He understood that the heat stayed in the combustion chamber and out of the water jacket. He saw the 308 as a balanced entity. It didn't vibrate itself to death. It didn't have a complex valve train that could float or fail at high speeds. It was a machine that provided a direct, honest connection between the fuel tank and the rear wheels. For a man who hated clutter, the 308 was a mechanical masterpiece. It did one job, and it did it with a level of integrity that the corporate world would eventually forget how to replicate. The second crown, the 283 small block. The second engine on Smokey's list of perfection arrived in 1957 and fundamentally rewrote the rules of the American garage. It was the Chevrolet 283 cubic inch small block V8. Smokey saw the 283 as the golden ratio of engineering. He realized that the bore-to-stroke relationship was so perfect that the engine seemed to defy the standard laws of friction. This was the first production engine to hit the 1 horsepower per cubic inch mark, and Smokey was the one who proved that it was a metallurgical miracle. He viewed the 283 as a Lego set for the mechanical mind. The internal architecture was so robust that you could swap heads, cams, and manifolds without ever taxing the integrity of the high-nickel block. He called it the heart of the mouse, and he loved it because it was an engine that could live at 9,000 RPM all day and still be ready for more the next morning. He saw the 283 as a machine that was designed by mechanics for mechanics. It was designed by mechanics for me, easy to tune, and impossible to ignore. The ramjet revolution. The true genius of the 283 was its pairing with the Rochester mechanical fuel injection. Smokey was instrumental in perfecting this system, realizing that the carburetor was a crude bottleneck that held the engine back from its true potential. He saw the ramjet as a masterpiece of fluid logic. It didn't rely on electronics or sensors, it relied on the pure physics of pressure. He proved that you could have a racing engine that was as civil as a church-going sedan until you mashing the pedal and letting the atmospheric pressure do the work. Smokey realized that the 283 was overbuilt in all the right places. The forged steel crankshaft and the density of the iron allowed it to survive the smoky treatment when other engines were turning into white-hot scrap metal. He viewed the 283 as the perfect blueprint. It was a machine that offered no excuses. It did exactly what the laws of physics demanded. For a man who lived his life by the rulebook and the stopwatch, the 283 was the ultimate partner in the fight against the corporate suits who wanted to build everything out of plastic and compromise. If you spent time around small blocks, building them, racing them, or relying on them, drop a comment and tell me what configuration you trusted most. Smokey believed the way a man builds an engine tells you how he thinks. Let's see what that looks like down below. The third crown, the Industrial Soldier. The third and final engine that Smokey Yunick called damn near perfect was a machine that the muscle car world almost completely ignored. It was the Cummins 5.9-liter 6BT diesel. Smokey encountered this engine late in his career and realized that the honest iron he had been searching for had finally been built by the agricultural and industrial sectors. He saw a straight-six architecture that featured 7 main bearings, gear-driven timing, and a forged steel crankshaft that looked like it belonged in a locomotive. He took a 6BT into his workshop and began a systematic autopsy of the design. He was hunting for the Detroit Compromise, that one plastic part or thin-walled casting designed to save a nickel, but he couldn't find it. He realized that Cummins hadn't built a pickup engine. They had built a miniature industrial power plant. He loved the fact that there were no timing chains to stretch and no distributors to fail. It was an engine that operated on the principle of compression ignition, meaning it was a machine of pure, unadulterated logic. The logic of the 7 mains. Smokey's devotion to Cummins was rooted in the cold, hard logic of the straight-six configuration. He realized that a straight-six allows for massive main bearings and a crankshaft that is supported by a solid wall of iron on both sides of every connecting rod. He proved that the vibration of a V8 was actually wasted energy that was slowly tearing the engine apart from the inside out. He once remarked that the 6BT was the calmest engine he had ever put on a dyno. He meant that the harmonic frequencies were so low that the iron never felt stressed. He saw the beauty in the simplicity of the overhead valve design and the mechanical fuel injection. He realized that the 6BT was a closed-loop system of efficiency. It didn't need a computer to tell it how to work. It only needed fuel, air, and compression. For Smokey, this was the ultimate expression of mechanical truth. He believed that if you couldn't fix it with a wrench and a screwdriver, it didn't belong in a truck. Smokey began a project to build the ultimate engine using his hot vapor theories applied to the Cummins platform. He wanted to build an adiabatic engine, a machine that didn't need a cooling system at all. He realized that the 6BT's heavy-duty casting was the perfect candidate for this extreme thermal management. He wanted to wrap the engine in ceramic insulation and recycle every single BTU of waste heat back into the turbocharger. He once opened up about his vision for an engine that could run at 100% load for its entire life without ever wearing out. He believed that the Cummins was the only engine with the meat to handle that level of thermal stress. Smokey Yunick spent his final days hunting for mechanical truth with a pipe in his teeth and a set of calipers in his hand. Smokey's life was a masterclass in defiance, and his selection of these 3 perfect engines is the ultimate proof that a corporate memo cannot kill a great idea. You cannot save a bad design with a plastic cover, and you cannot hide the truth from a man who knows how to read the wear on a bearing. The industry wants you to be a consumer, but we are here to be builders. If this story felt worth your time, give the video a like before you go. It helps keep conversations like this alive and makes sure the right people keep finding them. If you believe another engine deserved Smokey's respect, put its name in the comments and make the case for it. Explain what it did right, what it understood about airflow, combustion, or durability, and why it earned that kind of judgment. And if you want more stories about the men and machines that build real performance, stories told straight, without shortcuts, subscribe and stay with us. These are conversations worth keeping alive.